Hello, friends. I'm Robert Anderson. Do you remember me from our last conversation about deep sleep? Today, I'm going to share something equally important for your brain health. Something that changed my life in ways I never expected. 3 months ago, I started keeping a food diary as part of my brain health journey. I wrote down everything I ate and noted how I felt afterward. After just a few weeks, I noticed something strange. On days when I ate certain foods, my thinking seemed foggy, my joints ached more, and I felt unusually tired. But on other days, when my meals included different foods, I felt mentally sharper and more energetic. Could what I was eating actually be affecting my brain? Like many of you, I grew up in an era when we didn't worry much about what we ate. Meat and potatoes, casseroles, canned foods, sweet desserts. Those were staples in my household. The idea that my lifelong eating habits might be harming my brain was troubling, to say the least. I began researching and discovered something remarkable. What we eat doesn't just affect our waistline. It can literally change our brain. There's a powerful connection between inflammation in our body, the foods we eat, and our risk of cognitive decline. Today, I want to share with you the fascinating journey of discovering how simple changes to your diet can protect your brain, sharpen your memory, and possibly even prevent dementia. I've spent months testing these methods myself, and the improvement in my mental clarity has been nothing short of amazing. The best part? You don't need expensive supplements or complicated diet plans. Just everyday foods that you can find in any grocery store. So let's explore together how the right foods can become medicine for your brain. Before we talk about specific foods, it's important to understand what's happening inside our bodies as we age. I want to share with you the concept that changed everything for me. Inflammation. You've probably heard of inflammation when you get a cut or sprain. The area becomes red, swollen, and painful. That's acute inflammation, and it's actually a good thing. Your body's natural healing response. But there's another type called chronic inflammation that happens inside your body, often without any obvious symptoms. Think of it as a slow-burning fire inside your body that never quite goes out. This type of inflammation has been linked to almost every age-related disease. Heart disease, arthritis, diabetes, and yes, cognitive decline and Alzheimer's. Here's where food comes in. Some foods fuel this inflammatory fire, while others help put it out. What I discovered shocked me. Many traditional Western diet staples, processed foods, sugary drinks, certain oils, and refined carbohydrates are like gasoline to inflammation. I never imagined that the toast with margarine I'd eaten for breakfast most of my life, or the soda I drank with lunch, or the processed microwave dinner I often had in the evening could actually be damaging my brain. The science is clear. What we eat directly affects brain inflammation. Even more surprising, I learned about something called the brain-gut connection. Our digestive system and brain are in constant communication. When we eat inflammatory foods, it doesn't just affect our digestion. It sends inflammatory signals straight to our brain. Dr. Lisa Mosconi, a neuroscientist at Weill Cornell Medicine, found that people who closely follow anti-inflammatory diets have brains that appear, on average, 3 years younger on brain scans compared to those who don't. 3 years younger. Just from changing what you eat. When I learned all this, I went through my kitchen and was shocked to see how many of my regular foods were potentially harming my brain. I decided to make some changes. not a complete diet overhaul overnight, but small, sustainable adjustments. And I want to share those changes with you. Now for the exciting part. The foods that can actually protect and nourish your brain. I've compiled my top 10 brain-boosting foods based on scientific research and my personal experience. These aren't exotic superfoods you need to order online. They're everyday items available in most grocery stores. 1. Fatty fish. At the top of the list is fatty fish: salmon, trout, sardines, and mackerel. These are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, especially DHA, which makes up about 25% of the fat in your brain cells. In a study from the University of Pittsburgh, people who ate baked or broiled fish at least once a week had larger brain volumes in areas related to memory and cognition. I now make sure to eat fatty fish at least twice a week. If you don't like fish or are vegetarian, consider omega-3 supplements from algae oil or foods like flax seeds and walnuts, though the plant-based forms aren't quite as effective as those from fish. 2. Berries. Berries are brain superheroes. Blueberries, strawberries, blackberries. They're all packed with antioxidants, especially flavonoids, that give them their vibrant colors. The Nurses' Health Study followed over 16,000 older women and found that those who consumed the most blueberries and strawberries delayed cognitive aging by up to 2.5 years. I now add berries to my breakfast almost every morning. When fresh berries are expensive or out of season, frozen ones are just as nutritious. 3. Leafy greens. Dark leafy greens like spinach, kale, collards, and arugula contain nutrients that protect the brain: folate, vitamin E, carotenoids, and flavonoids. The Mind Diet study found that people who ate just one serving of leafy greens per day had brains that functioned as if they were 11 years younger compared to those who rarely ate them. 11 years. That fact alone motivated me to eat more greens. If you don't enjoy the taste of kale or spinach, try mixing them into smoothies with fruit, or add them to soups and stews where their flavor is less noticeable. 4. Extra virgin olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil is the backbone of the Mediterranean diet, one of the most researched diets for brain health. It contains powerful antioxidants called polyphenols that help reduce inflammation and remove beta-amyloid plaques associated with Alzheimer's. I've replaced all my cooking oils with extra virgin olive oil, and I make simple dressings with olive oil for my salads. Remember to buy olive oil in dark glass bottles and store it away from heat and light to preserve its beneficial compounds. 5. Nuts and seeds. A handful of nuts and seeds daily is like medicine for your brain. Walnuts in particular look like little brains for a reason. They're rich in omega-3s, antioxidants, and vitamin E. A landmark study found that women in their 70s who consumed the most nuts had better memory recall compared to those who ate fewer nuts. I keep small containers of nuts and seeds in my car, desk drawer, and kitchen for easy snacking. 6. Turmeric. This bright yellow spice contains curcumin, a compound with powerful anti-inflammatory effects. In India, where turmeric is widely used in cooking, Alzheimer's rates are significantly lower than in Western countries. The challenge with turmeric is that curcumin isn't easily absorbed. I learned a chef's trick: always combine turmeric with black pepper and a bit of healthy fat to maximize absorption. I add it to scrambled eggs, soups, stews, and stir-fries regularly now. 7. Dark chocolate. Good news for chocolate lovers. Dark chocolate, 70% cocoa content or higher, contains flavonols that can improve blood flow to the brain. Harvard researchers found that drinking 2 cups of hot cocoa daily for 30 days improved blood flow to the brain by 8%. I've switched from milk chocolate to dark chocolate for an occasional treat. Remember, moderation is key. Just a small square or two a few times a week is sufficient. 8. Beans and lentils. Beans and lentils provide stable energy for your brain thanks to their combination of complex carbs, protein, and fiber. This helps maintain steady glucose levels, which is critical for brain function. In the blue zones, regions where people live extraordinarily long and healthy lives, beans are a dietary staple. I now include some form of beans or lentils in my diet almost daily, whether in soups, salads, or as side dishes. 9. Fermented foods. Fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, and kimchi support your gut microbiome. Those trillions of bacteria living in your digestive system. Remember the brain-gut connection we talked about earlier? A healthy gut microbiome is essential for brain health. A fascinating study from UCLA found that women who ate yogurt with probiotics twice daily showed improved brain function on MRI scans. I've started making simple fermented foods at home, like yogurt and fermented vegetables. They're surprisingly easy and much cheaper than store-bought versions. 10. Tea and coffee. Good news for tea and coffee drinkers. Both beverages are rich in antioxidants that protect brain cells. Green tea contains an amino acid called L-theanine that can cross the blood-brain barrier and increase the activity of GABA, a neurotransmitter that helps reduce anxiety and makes you feel more relaxed. Coffee in moderation, 1 to 2 cups daily, has been associated with reduced risk of Parkinson's and Alzheimer's disease. I now enjoy a cup of green tea in the morning and sometimes black coffee as an occasional treat. All these foods share something in common. They're part of traditional diets around the world that have been eaten for generations. Our bodies and brains evolved with these foods, not with the ultra-processed products that fill modern supermarket shelves. Just as important as knowing what to eat is knowing what to avoid or limit. After researching brain-healthy diets, I went through my pantry and refrigerator and was surprised by how many inflammatory foods I was consuming daily without realizing it. The first category to limit is ultra-processed foods. Basically anything that comes in a package with a long list of ingredients you can't pronounce. These foods often contain refined carbohydrates, unhealthy fats, and chemicals that can trigger inflammation. A shocking study from the National Institutes of Health found that people ate about 500 more calories per day when offered ultra-processed foods compared to a whole foods diet. These extra calories were mostly from added sugars and unhealthy fats, both linked to cognitive decline. Let's talk about added sugars specifically. The average American consumes about 17 teaspoons of added sugar daily. That's almost 270 calories just from sugar. High sugar consumption leads to blood sugar spikes and crashes that can impair cognitive function in the short term and contribute to brain shrinkage and dementia risk in the long term. What surprised me most was finding hidden sugars in foods I thought were healthy. Certain yogurts, granola bars, salad dressings, and even pasta sauces often contain more sugar than some desserts. Next are certain cooking oils, particularly those high in omega-6 fatty acids like soybean, corn, and sunflower oils. While we need some omega-6s, the modern Western diet contains far too many, creating an imbalance with omega-3s that can promote inflammation. I've replaced these with extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, and a small amount of coconut oil for high-heat cooking. Excess sodium is another concern. Too much salt can raise blood pressure, which is a major risk factor for cognitive decline and dementia. Processed and restaurant foods are the biggest sources of sodium in our diets, not the salt we add while cooking. I was shocked to learn that a single restaurant meal or frozen dinner can contain more than a day's worth of sodium. I now try to cook most meals at home where I can control the amount of salt used. Finally, let's talk about beverages. Sugary drinks like soda, sweetened tea, and many fruit juices are essentially liquid sugar with little to no nutritional value. Even diet sodas with artificial sweeteners can negatively impact your gut microbiome and potentially your brain health. Alcohol is another complicated one. While some studies suggest moderate wine consumption might be protective for the brain, excessive alcohol intake is clearly harmful and a major risk factor for dementia. I'm not saying you can never enjoy these foods again. I certainly haven't eliminated all of them completely. But being aware of their potential impact on your brain and reducing your consumption can make a significant difference. It's about making informed choices most of the time, not about perfection. Let me share some of my favorite brain-healthy recipes that incorporate the foods we've discussed. These are simple meals that anyone can make, requiring minimal cooking skills and common ingredients. Recipe 1. Anti-inflammatory morning smoothie. This is how I start most mornings, with a smoothie packed with brain-boosting foods. 1 cup of berries, fresh or frozen. 1 handful of leafy greens, spinach or kale. 1 tablespoon of ground flax seeds. 1/2 cup of plain yogurt. Half a banana for sweetness. A small piece of fresh turmeric or 1/4 teaspoon ground turmeric. A pinch of black pepper to help absorb the turmeric. A splash of water or unsweetened almond milk. Blend everything until smooth. This delivers antioxidants, omega-3s, probiotics, and anti-inflammatory compounds, all in one delicious breakfast. Recipe 2. Mediterranean-style lunch bowl. For lunch, I often make this simple bowl. A base of leafy greens. 1/2 cup of cooked quinoa or brown rice. 1/4 cup of chickpeas or lentils. Colorful vegetables like bell peppers, cucumbers, and tomatoes. A small serving of fatty fish like canned wild salmon or sardines. 1/4 of an avocado. A sprinkle of walnuts or pumpkin seeds. A dressing of extra virgin olive oil, lemon juice, and herbs. This bowl contains protein, healthy fats, fiber, and a rainbow of plant nutrients that protect your brain. Recipe 3. Turmeric golden milk. As an evening ritual, I often enjoy this calming drink that helps reduce inflammation. 1 cup of milk, dairy, or plant-based. 1/2 teaspoon of ground turmeric. 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. A pinch of black pepper. A small amount of honey or maple syrup, optional. A small piece of fresh ginger, optional. Heat everything gently on the stove, being careful not to boil. Strain if using fresh ginger. This warm drink can help reduce inflammation and prepare your body for restful sleep. These are just a few simple ideas to get you started. The key is incorporating more of the brain-healthy foods we discussed while reducing the inflammatory ones. Start with small changes, perhaps 1 meal a day, and build from there. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, but progress. Every brain-healthy meal is a gift to your future self. To make this practical, I've created a simple 7-day meal plan that incorporates brain-healthy foods. This isn't meant to be prescriptive. Think of it as a starting point that you can adapt based on your preferences and dietary needs. For breakfast, alternate between the anti-inflammatory smoothie we just discussed, overnight oats with berries and nuts, or eggs with vegetables and whole grain toast. For lunch, try the Mediterranean bowl, a hearty bean soup or a salad with fatty fish. For dinner, focus on lean proteins like fish, chicken, or legumes, paired with abundant vegetables and a small portion of whole grains. For snacks, keep it simple with a handful of nuts, Greek yogurt with berries, or cut vegetables with hummus. What made the biggest difference for me wasn't following a strict plan, but adopting a few simple principles. First, I aim to eat at least 2 to 3 servings of leafy greens daily. I add spinach to my morning smoothie, have a salad at lunch, and often include cooked greens with dinner. Second, I make sure to include healthy fats with every meal, whether that's olive oil, avocado, nuts, seeds, or fatty fish. Third, I try to eat at least 5 different colors of fruits and vegetables each day. Different colors represent different beneficial compounds for your brain. One strategy that helped me enormously was batch cooking. On Sundays, I prepare a few basics for the week. A big pot of bean soup or lentil stew, roasted vegetables with olive oil and herbs, a container of cooked quinoa or brown rice, washed and chopped leafy greens. Having these building blocks ready makes it much easier to assemble brain-healthy meals during busy weekdays. Another simple strategy is using visual reminders. I keep a list of brain-healthy foods on my refrigerator and another one in my wallet for grocery shopping. These gentle nudges help me make better choices consistently. Remember, the goal isn't to transform your diet overnight. Start with 1 meal a day, perhaps breakfast, and gradually incorporate more brain-healthy choices. Small, consistent changes are more sustainable than dramatic overhauls. It's been 3 months since I started making these changes to my diet, and the differences I've experienced are remarkable. My thinking is clearer, my energy levels are more consistent throughout the day, and those memory lapses that used to worry me have become much less frequent. I've also noticed some unexpected benefits. I sleep better, my joints don't ache as much in the morning, and friends have commented that my skin looks healthier. I even lost a few pounds without really trying. This journey has made me think about my parents and grandparents. Many of them suffered from cognitive decline in their later years, and I always assumed it was simply inevitable with age. Now I understand that while genetics certainly play a role, our lifestyle choices, especially what we eat, can significantly impact our brain health trajectory. I'm not perfect with this new way of eating, and I don't expect you to be either. I still enjoy a piece of birthday cake or an occasional glass of wine. The difference is that now I make informed choices most of the time, and I'm proactive about including brain-boosting foods in my daily life. I invite you to try just one change this week. Perhaps add a serving of leafy greens to your day, or swap out that afternoon cookie for a handful of walnuts and berries. Notice how you feel, not just immediately, but over the next few days. In our next episode, we'll explore how combining quality sleep with brain-healthy nutrition creates a powerful synergy for cognitive health. We'll also discuss physical activity, the third pillar of brain protection. Remember, it's never too late to make changes that benefit your brain. Every meal is an opportunity to nourish not just your body, but the remarkable organ that makes you who you are, your brain. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I look forward to continuing our conversation about keeping our minds sharp and healthy at any age.